Hi children, I hope you're well. So we're going to do some RE this morning, and we're going to be continuing to focus on celebrating in our RE topic. But what we're going to kind of move on to a little bit more today is celebrating in church and thinking about kind of church in particular. So I'm just going to show you a couple of photos now, a couple of pictures, and I want you to just have a think about what you can see in those pictures. This is the first one. Okay, so what can you see here? What can you see in this picture? Have a think of all the things that you can see. I'll just give you a minute to have a think. So there's lots of things I'm sure you spotted here. So firstly, where is this? Where are we in this picture here? This picture's in a church, isn't it? And if we have a look in the church, there's lots of things that you might recognize if you've been to church before. So we have got the cross. So we've got some crosses here and we've got some cross here. These are the altar servers here, and they help out the priest, who is this man here. So they're bringing the cross with Jesus on, bringing that in, and some candles. And if you have a look at, we've got the parishioners. The parishioners are the people that go to church. Sometimes they're called the congregation as well. But the parishioners who are people that go to church regularly. So if you're somebody that goes to church all the time, you'll see people every Sunday that you see all the time every Sunday, and they're not normally known as the parishioners. And we have St. Peter's parishioners who are part of our church family. That's what parishioner really means. It kind of means like the church family. So these would be the parishioners here, and they are singing. They're singing hymns. They've got hymn books there, and they're singing as the priest is coming in. So we've got the priest, and on the priest's gown, we've got a cross as well to remember Jesus. And in the church, we've got some stained glass windows, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a bit, but those are normally very beautiful windows made of lots of different colours, and they normally tell a story or have a picture of a time from the Bible. So that's one of the pictures. I'm going to show you the next one now. Right, so what can we see in this picture here? I think, what can you see in this picture here? What do you think's happening? So these are the parishioners, the people that go to church, the family, the church family. You know, they're not family like brothers and sisters and mummies and daddies. Some of them will be little families, but they're kind of a family, like our school's a family. We're not all brothers and sisters, are we, in our school? But we're part of a different kind of family. And this is a church family here. This is the parishioners, as I said. And they're having a special barbecue, and it looks like they're having a barbecue at summertime. And it says on this sign here, "Welcome to our parish barbecue." So they're having a parish barbecue, which is nice. And here is the priest. Here looks like he's waving at somebody who's just come, and they're having some lovely food. Looks like they're playing some games back here, and they're doing this all outside the church. So if I was going to have a guess, I would have a guess that they've had their Sunday service. So every Sunday we go and visit church, and we have our special mass on a Sunday. And this, I think, looks like it might have happened after that, because sometimes in some churches you can gather after the mass and just catch up with everybody and see how everybody's doing. Lots of churches will do kind of tea and biscuits and things like that, but this church here is having a barbecue, which I think is a really lovely idea. So that's what they're doing. They're coming together as a family, and they're having a celebration, and the celebration is probably just getting to know each other and celebrating that they are one big family in the church. So normally at this time of year, children, we go and have a visit to St. Peter's Church. We have a walk down and we visit St. Peter's Church. Now, some of you might have been to St. Peter's Church. I know a few of you were baptised in St. Peter's Church, but sadly we can't do that at the moment. So I'm going to show you just some things that we would be looking for in the church. And they're things that we would use to celebrate in the church. So a celebration that happens in church, there's quite a few. See if you can think of a celebration that happens in church. So in church, we have weddings, we have funerals, we have baptisms, we have first Holy Communion. So if you've got any older brothers or sisters, they might have had their first Holy Communion, which is a very special thing that happens to you when you get a little bit older. We also have times during Easter where we celebrate. We have the build up to Easter, which is Lent, where there's lots of special time in church. Christmas and the build up to Christmas Advent. We also have our Sunday service. So every single Sunday there is a special celebration celebrating learning about the Bible and saying special prayers to Jesus. So kind of every single week there's a little mini celebration in the church. So I'm going to show you now some of the things that we might see in a church. So if you've been to church before, then you might recognize some of these things here. So this is St. Peter's Church. So this is our special church, special to our school. So you might recognise it if you've been there before. And what's very special about St. Peter's Church is there's actually two. There's an old church and then there's a newer church. And normally the Sunday services would take place in the newer church because it's bigger. But the old church is still there, and I know that you can get married in the old church, for example, still. So St. Peter's is very special that it's got two churches, really, two in one. So this is Father Michael. So some of you may know Father Michael, and it's a real shame that we haven't been able to meet him yet this year. Because normally if we would have been having masses, then you would have been able to see Father Michael, because he's the priest. So he's the person kind of in charge of the mass. He tells us the Bible stories. He leads the mass. He says prayers for us. Here he's blessing the wine and the host, which is what some people go and get during the mass. So this is Father Michael. Hopefully we'll be able to meet him soon. And then this is the inside of the new church of St. Peter's. This isn't a very recent picture, sadly, but this is what it would normally look like, full with people, as you can see. There's lots and lots of people there, I don't know, I think they might be having some quiet prayer time there. And there's Father Michael just there. And as you can see in the church, there's a lovely big picture here. We've got Jesus on the wall just here. We've got the pews, which we're going to talk about here. Here's the altar. We've got some candles, and everybody will have a hymn sheet or a hymn book as well. So that's what the inside of St. Peter's Church looks like. But every church is different and unique in their own way. So these are some other examples of some churches. So this is a church. This is a church in York. So that's the outside of the church in York there. And then this is inside another church in London. So as you can see, you've got all the pews there. It's a different layout, isn't it, to the one in St. Peter's? And we've got our stained glass windows up here and the altar here. So that's another example of what church looks like inside. And if you go to the old church in St. Peter's, if you can see these pictures on the wall here, they've got these pictures there as well, and they tell some of the Bible stories in them as well. And this, I just wanted to show you very quickly, is a special church to me. This is the church that I'm hopefully going to get married in. So this is the parish church in Windsor. So this is the outside of the church, and this is the inside of the church. So this is a big organ here, and this is the altar, and the lecterns there, and here are the pews. And it's quite a big church, and it's used for big celebrations. So when I was at school, we would fill the entire church. We'd walk down there and fill up the entire church because it's very, very big, and you can even sit upstairs in there. So yeah, it's a lovely church. So I just wanted to show you the inside there as well. So let's have a look at some special items that we would find in a church. So we've got the font, and I think lots of us would know what this font is for. Can you have a think? What is the font for? What do we do with the font? This is what, well, I don't know if you said, this is what the babies will have, the water, they'll be held over it, and the water will be poured over their head when they are baptized. So this is an example of a font here, and this is a different kind of font. All fonts sort of look a little bit different depending on the church that you go in. We've got the pews, and this is where everybody sits together. So this is what most churches have, pews like this now. There are some more modern churches might just have chairs, but most churches will have pews like this. And this is the entrance of the church. So normally there's quite big doors, and there might be something special above the door. So I think if we could see, we can't see it, but I think just above here is a cross to help us remember Jesus as we're walking into the church. We've got collection bags. So this is something that's passed around during the service for people to put money in. So sometimes the money will go to the church. And I know that the church that I'm getting married in, a special church to me, they were raising money for their organ to be fixed, because it's a very, very old organ, and it needed replacing. And actually it took them a long time, but they have actually managed to raise the money now. So that was due to get repaired this year. I don't know if that's been delayed or not, but that's that the church might collect for a certain thing in the church that needs fixing, or it might be that they'll collect for a certain charity or a certain group of people, things like that. So that's what these are normally passed around, or at the end of Mass, you can sometimes put some money in them at the end. So these are the holy oils. We might see these in church as well, and they're used for all different things. And normally they are rubbed on the head for the sign of the cross. And we learned about that when we did baptism, didn't we? We've got the holy water font. So this is normally at the entrance of the church by the door. And normally you just dip your hand in and you make the sign of the cross with the font there. It's got holy water in it. So just to kind of give yourself a blessing before you enter the church. So we've got the crucifix, we've got the cross. This one's got Jesus on here. And that helps us remember that Jesus was very, very special to us. That's he died on the cross for us, which we'll learn a little bit more about during Easter. This is a paschal candle. So this is a special, we did look at this when we were doing baptism as well. And these candles are lit for very special times of the year, like Christmas and baptisms. And every Easter, the church is given a new paschal candle that is blessed. So this is the altar. So this is kind of where the priest will stand and will have, so Father Michael normally has the Bible on there, and normally there's maybe some flowers or some candles. And when he's blessing the wine and the host, that's where he'll do that. So it's kind of the front, if you like, it's the front. And we will have an altar when we have Mass in our school. And these are hymn books, which will have our hymns, so the words of the songs in them. This is the priest. So we've got our special priest. We've just looked at Father Michael in our church, St. Peter, but every church has its own priest. And then we've got the lectern, which is normally what the Bible will sit on when we're talking about the Bible stories, and also it might be used to have prayers on, and normally somebody stands behind it and talks. And this is a stained glass window. So stained glass windows are very, very pretty. And you'll see these in all sorts of churches. And they are pictures of Bible stories normally. And they are made with different coloured glass. And they're really, really beautiful, because when the sun shines on them, then they really, really light up the church. So normally they're very, very intricate. They've got lots of little details to them and things like that. So yeah, they're very pretty. So next time you're in a church, whenever that may be, see if you can spot any stained glass windows and what stories that they are trying to tell. So just going to stop sharing. So hopefully you've learned a little bit more about what things that you'll find in church and what kind of church looks like. And I'm really, really sorry that we didn't get to go and visit the church, but hopefully I can squeeze that visit in at some point in the year. Maybe later on in the year we can go and have a little walk down, because it is so lovely to go and visit the church. So what we're going to do now, what you're going to do is I want you to get creative. So you're going to either draw, or paint if you've got some paint, and if mummies and daddies or whoever's looking after you says that you can have the paint out. You can use colouring pencils, colouring pens, crayons. It could be a 3D picture that you make, so you might want to use some junk modelling. Whatever you want, I want you to make your own church picture. So you can use the pictures that I put at the beginning of the PowerPoint. If you want, you can go back and have a look at that, or you can Google some pictures. You might have a church that's special to you in your family that's not St. Peter's Church. So you could have a look online to see if they've got any pictures of it. This is my very, very poor example, but I did very, very quickly. But I've drawn the church here, and I've drawn the entrance to the church, and I've drawn the holy water font there. And I've got my stained glass windows with my pictures of, this is Mary and baby Jesus. That is St. Peter. He's got a key in his hand and there's a fish there. And that is Jesus with children. They're not very good. Yours is going to be much better than mine. And I've done the cross up the top there. So yours is going to be far better than mine, but this is kind of what I want you to do. But you can be as creative as you like with it, but try and see if you can make it look like a church that you know, or that you can find online. And then if you wanted to do something extra once you've done that, after it's all dried or whatever it needs to be done with it, you can write some of the celebrations that take place in a church around the church. So I've done that. So I've got baptisms, Advent, I've got Lent, which is the build up to Easter, which is going to be very soon, Christmas, Easter, weddings, Sunday Mass, and First Holy Communion. And there's more children. So if you can think of any, then you can write those down. So that is something that you can do now. And I'd love to be able to see this work. So if you could upload it, that would be brilliant, because I'm excited to see all the different churches and how creative you can be. Okay, hope you get on with that okay, and I look forward to seeing all your work. Bye.